can hear them. Sometimes people want to hear them, sometimes not. No, but they are here in the studio. I'm just giving you some fun holiday cheer here. Mayor Mark Barnette, good morning to you, and thanks for coming in, sir.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. And Mitch Foster, City Manager of Ludington, thanks for coming in.
Good morning, guys.
All right, let's talk about some things on the table tonight at City Hall, including, even before we do that, we had the Globe Parade this past weekend, so that was pretty cool. Mark, Mayor Barnette, was that the first time you've lit the Christmas tree? Was that a first for you?
It is, and I got to tell you, it was much less pressure than trying to get the first shot in a macro opener. So yeah, I'll do that all day long.
Yeah, just one shot and you got it done. And congratulations on that. I think that's kind of a cool achievement because when you do it, people are they say you hear the wow over the crowd.
And it was right at the time that the choir sang the word joy, and it lit up. And that was not my doing. That was Elliot Plummer, the director of the choir, and he did a great job. And all the choir members did a super job, and it was really cool.
Yeah, and what's really impressive is the number of people that not only come down for it, but also the people that are connected throughout the country to Ludington that are excited for these kind of events to happen. And that's the really neat part of it. Small Business Saturday was this past Saturday. Mitch, seems like when I was downtown, people were shopping. It's good to see that's happening.
Yeah, I think so. You know, my wife and I, at different times, since we have our kids at home, came down shopping based on gift cards or wanting to get some stuff for family and friends. And so, stopping into a number of the stores, they said that about the 10 o'clock to noon hour was busy. And then the moment the kickoff for the Michigan-Ohio State game happened, things started to quiet down. So hopefully, I didn't ask folks in the afternoon or evening, but hopefully they continue to pick up. I know, Tammy Gerber, who's got House on Hanson there, she posted on Facebook that it was her single best day of sales that she has had since she's been open. So hopefully that was the case for a lot of our businesses downtown.
All right, looking forward to that. You are near the plant, by the way. Do you know what kind of plant this is? Do either of you know what kind of plant this is?
It's a rubber plant, right?
That's a succulent, right?
Okay, there you go, succulent plant. Maybe that's what it is. Is it? I don't know.
All I know is succulents look like they're fake, and people say that you don't have to water them at all. So it sounds like an ideal plant.
But yes.
That's it. We had a listener get that for us a while back, and that was part of the conversation was Chris can't keep plants alive, so here is a plant. And so that makes sense now that you explain that. So you are close to that plant, so you're responsible for watering it today.
Does it take coffee? Because I could provide that right now.
No. Okay. But we do want to jump into some of the topics on the conversation tonight at City Hall. We have a 6 o'clock City Council meeting, and you've got a new City Council member. Mitch, take us through Jean, right?
Jeannie.
Yep.
So Jeannie Oakes is the newest City Council member. She will be representing the 3rd Ward until the end of until the end of next year, 2024. She was appointed one of 5 that had applied. Went through, had a response, had some interview questions from City Council, and they ended up choosing her. So this will be her first meeting. She lives right in the 3rd Ward. She's been superintendent. She's been on the Community Foundation. Might even still be on the Community Foundation board. I think she's still on the West Shore Bank board. So she's got a lot of great experience that she'll be bringing into the role. And she's very excited, and I think that was, from my perspective, one of the reasons council really looked at her was she had a lot of energy to jump in and get going.
And Mayor, it was nice to see quite a few candidates come out for this, and it didn't that position didn't have to stay empty for a long period of time.
Oh, for heaven's sake, because it was great. We had 5 candidates, and they really represented a number of different perspectives and experience backgrounds and that kind of thing. It was really a great situation.
All right.
We appreciate really everyone that applied and put themselves forward to serve.
All right. Looking forward to having her on City Council. So, Mitch, what happens now? She will sit on that seat until November of next year for general elections, right?
Yep, correct. Well, so unless there is more than 2 people that run for that seat, so say she decides to run for re-election, or election, I guess, somebody else decides to run, and then they get a 3rd in there, then they would actually have a primary, I believe, in August. Okay. But if it's just 2 people or less than 2 people, then it would just go right to the November election.
All right. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Mayor Mark Barnette and City Manager Mitch Foster this morning. And budgeting is a big topic of conversation coming up that she'll be involved with, as all City Council members are. Take us through that. What's happening there?
Yeah, so tonight is the first presentation to the full City Council of the budget. So we're looking at giving my presentation for that. It'll be a thrilling and riveting PowerPoint of numbers and other things, but hopefully council is able to ask some questions, understand a little bit deeper. I'm actually going to have two different PowerPoints. One is going to be kind of a general overview as to how local government budgeting is a little bit different. So that'll be for Jeannie and for others that are new to this, as well as those that are in attendance, and then move on to the city budget itself. So this is the first step in really City Council as a whole seeing the budget, and then they will move to approve that or look at approving it at the second meeting in December.
Mr. Mayor, is there a lot of expenses that we foresee being a part of the budget that are higher this coming year than what we've had last year? And obviously everything has gone up in price. So obviously for city councils or cities, they have as well.
Well, construction projects, I think of, development projects that are being envisioned for this next coming year, and the bids that come in. I know in past, throughout this year, we've had people concerned or comment about, how expensive this or that project was, and just thinking that you couldn't get it done or you need to be able to get it done for far less. And as we go out and we pay more if we're going to build a deck or we're going to do something in our house, we complain about the prices. That same thing holds true with regards to city projects. So there'll be that component to it in the budget as well.
Okay. Is there any specific projects that you are thinking of in the future?
Well, I'm going to turn that over to the city manager, Mitch Foster.
Yeah. So, I mean, from our perspective, I think, we do a 3-year budget. So this budget approved will be 24, 25, and 26.
Okay.
The real purpose of that is to help us plan a little bit more long term. So in 2024, we are going to be having a little bit of a kind of a pullback on our large expenditures. But our hope is that come 25 and 26, we start to see some of those larger projects come in. What I will say is for 24, we're going to see Tinkham Avenue reconstructed, essentially right from Lakeshore Drive all the way over to William, which will be really helpful. And then we would look at redoing the roof at Waterfront Park Pavilion so that is ready to go for the next few years. So little projects like that'll be helpful.
All right. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Mitch Foster and Mark Barnette, city manager. I said I'd bring it out the chair to her car, but she what's her name, by the way? She's a good friend of yours, right?
Shelley.
Okay.
Yeah, Shelley Kranick.
Yeah, and she bought one of the chairs from us, so I had to disappear for a moment. But let's talk. She made it okay. She got it in her vehicle, and we're talking with Mitch Foster, Mayor Mark Barnette this morning, and talking about budgeting. Expenses go up. People are going to ask as we get closer to the first part of the year, what sort of major improvements will we have in the city of Ludington that's going to be noticeable? Do you mind breaking this down in two parts? One for the tourists that might see, and I understand that we have restaurants going up and we have other construction and stuff like that, but I'm talking about specifically from the city standpoint, any sort of noticeable from the tourist standpoint, and then obviously from a local standpoint that we could see some major differences there. Do you mind trying to take that question?
Yeah, a small thing. But I think we'll actually begin to see an impact is we have worked with MDOT. We're going to be installing a pedestrian crossing sign over at House of Flavors. So if you ever walk that area or drive that area, you recognize that they're whether it's in the summertime when we're the most busy or even in the shoulder seasons when there are locals that are walking in that area, it is not the safest intersection to walk across. And so we're going to be working with MDOT to put in a sign for right now. It'll just be a normal pedestrian sign that says, hey, look out. And then moving forward, we're going to kind of test to see if that is effective. If it's effective, then we might enhance that a little bit with some flashing lights. But that'll be something that is small, that the city isn't paying for, but we're working with MDOT to do. That'll be impactful. From a kind of construction side standpoint, I was mentioning to Janelle and the mayor that we're looking at doing a reconstruction of Tinkham Avenue from the Lakeshore Drive intersection all the way over to William. So it's a fairly large reconstruction project of a roadway. And as anybody who goes to Oriole Field for pickleball, football games, track and field, soccer, just a walk knows that is a pretty rough stretch of roadway. And so we'll be reconstructing that entire stretch right there. So that'll be felt by residents and visitors alike. Obviously, it's a major thoroughfare within the city on the east-west side, so we'll have to work with everybody to figure out detours and the like. But it'll be really, really nice when it's all said and done.
All right, looking forward to it. Did you have a question?
No, I was just thinking like that's a lot of updates in Ludington. Like we're definitely updating Ludington, making it look super nice. I mean, Oriole Field was just done, the school's being redone, and then Tinkham Avenue. That'll be a nice addition.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Mitch Foster and Mark Barnette this morning. Let's talk about the. Did we talk about the cameras yet? We haven't chatted about that. Police cameras is that's on the budget, right?
It is.
And that's approved already, or that is going up for approval tonight.
So the police all of the budget itself will be approved in December.
Okay.
Tonight is really the first presentation for for the entire document. So it's our general fund budget this year is going to be right under $8 million. We've got another 10 to 12 million in enterprise funds. So that's the water, sewer, Cartier Park, all of those different areas that are included as well. So it's a big budget, but hopefully one that is helpful for everybody.
All right, let's swing it over to Mayor Mark Barnette this morning. Mayor, what's the topic that's coming up tonight that you want to explore here on the morning show? Putting you on the spot there. No, it's okay.
Well, I do know that, and again, this is not one of those sexy kind of projects, but I think it's a huge need for infrastructure maintenance. The DPW is looking to get a new sewer cam. That's on the docket for approval in terms of the purchase. That really, I mean, with the age of some of our infrastructure, that makes that even more important. Important from a preventative sort of a situation than when they encounter problems. So that's an issue. And so DPW, I know, is looking forward to getting that. And there's a couple other things. I mean, you look at the, and Mitch, I won't presume to know as much as you do on this, but the waterways grant, the high water grant to prevent or to protect the water treatment plant here in Ludington. When we had the high water before, it created shoreline damage, which put the water treatment plant, at least some of the waterfront there, at risk. And so we're looking for a way to prevent that.
All right, Mitch, anything additional you want to add to that one?
Yeah, so that's about $570,000 that we're looking to try to execute and to plan and to build out. The one thing that we are hopeful for is actually to not have to use that grant. Mm-hmm. We've applied to the Army Corps of Engineers for a full 100% grant that they would come in, they would work with us to plan and design a structure or a protection system for the water plant. And then they would pay for the execution and the building of it. So our hope is that we can do that project. If not, then we will move forward with this state of Michigan grant that would be only about a 25% match, which is still pretty nice.
You know, with these sewer cameras that Mayor Barnette mentioned, is that going to solve some of these issues that we have with some of the residents, or is that just going to give another tool to find issues that we have here in the city of Ludington?
It's going to end up being another tool. I mean, the reality is that, the city does not charge enough money to everybody to have the city repair all of those sewer lines. It's just not possible. And plus, the other issue is a number of folks have already repaired or replaced their lines. This equipment will allow us to be able to look into those sewers, look up the individual laterals that a homeowner may have, and be able to say, all right, the main is fine, but the sewer lateral has a bunch of tree roots growing through it, or it's already collapsed and we only see a trickle. So it will be helpful in that sense. And having a transition at the superintendent of public works role with Andy Lahr coming on board here now, and Joe Stickney retiring by the end of the year. It'll be interesting to see how Andy takes this moving forward, and what he takes from Joe and what he changes. So I think there's a lot of changes coming up from Public Works that will be slow in nature, but hopefully will continue to improve the lives of all the residents.
Because these are public figures in regards to Joe Stickney, he wanted to retire at this point. Can you give us a little bit of background on the decision making there, if you don't mind?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Joe had planned out this retirement, I think, about a year and a half ago. He knew, and we knew. And so what we planned to do is post for the job sometime in late summer, early fall, which we did, and then have somebody on board so that they could work with Joe, whether it was internal or external, for about a month or a month and a half to learn from him. And so we were able to do that. We were able to bring on Andy Lahr, who started last week, Tuesday. So he got 2 days in and had the holiday break. So this will be his first full week on the job. So it'll be a great addition to the team. And I know Joe, Corinne, Josh Tybel, Mike Comstock, those folks, Kirk Cathamer, are going to really work with Andy to teach him kind of all that we do so that he can get on board and know everything that he needs to know to run that role.
All right. And I know the police department, they reached out to us, Mayor Barnette, anytime after 3 a.m. until 7 a.m. If your vehicle is parked out anywhere, you're going to get a ticket. You don't get a pass on that, do you?
No.
Okay.
I make a habit of parking off the street.
Yeah, there you go. So take us through that part of the city ordinance that you can't be parked in that period of time, and the reason why, if you don't mind.
Well, I'll start with the reason why. Is this really provides an opportunity for DPW to come in, the plow drivers to come in and efficiently and effectively clear the streets. Anytime that they have to drive around a car, it creates a snow windrow or whatever you would call it that blocks that car in. So it really exacerbates the problem. So it's really it's an ordinance that is certainly there to help DPW, but then it really ends up helping the individual property owners and the people that face the street all along the way. And so I think it's an important thing. And historically, it's been a situation where, whenever the plows go out, the officers go out and write citations and to make sure that the streets are clear.
And do they, I know it's going to sound, I'm not trying to brush it off, snow brush,
nice.
But
don't be flaky, Chris.
Thanks.
No problem.
Wow.
You guys are good. This is good stuff today. But do we track tickets written overnight, and what does that look like usually? Are we seeing compliance? Are we seeing issues? Mitch?
It depends on the year. If I remember correctly, I think having toddlers makes your brain go haywire. But if I remember correctly, last year was pretty light for a winter. When we have heavy winters, we will track them and make sure. But it's also just trying to work with these folks so they understand the rules and regulations. We try to remind them regularly, and the last resort is kind of the ticket. I will say, if you get plowed in because you decided not to move your vehicle, you've gotten a ticket, and you get plowed in, that's a decision you have made. And I'm sorry, especially if we get a heavy snowfall and it's 12 inches around your car and it freezes. That's why we try to ask people to get their vehicles off the street. It's not only to keep them clear, it's also to keep your vehicle safe and to keep people safe who are driving on it. So please get your vehicles off the roadway when they're plowing at night.
A weird question, but is there enough? There's driveways everywhere, right? There is not an excess of vehicles in the city of Ludington to have overflow, right? Is that?
That's a interesting philosophical question that I think the Planning Commission is debating with regards to parking ordinance and parking spots. I would agree with you, Chris, that there's probably enough space, but also we've got a lot of properties that have been converted that have into two-family living. And because of the housing situation in Ludington right now and across the country, you might have 4 families living in that 2-family house. And so the number of vehicles is exponential. And so I think that's being shown, and we see it most often in winter because you can't hide vehicles as easily in winter because there's just not as much space. And so, I think we do have too many vehicles probably in certain areas.
And same kind of question, if you don't mind, in regards to those that are in apartment complexes. As an example, let's say any apartments on Ludington Avenue, they would be parking in the back parking lots of those buildings.
Right.
Are those are city parking lots? Is that correct? And if they are, does that what happens there? Can they be ticketed? Do they have time to move their vehicles? Should they? What's the plan there? Do you know?
There are spots in each of those lots for overnight winter parking. And so the police department and public works and those residents are kind of told how that all works.
Okay.
And so they work through it on an individual lot basis, especially for those renters in each of those parking lots.
All right.
Yep.
We're talking with Mitch Foster and Mark Barnette, City Manager and Mayor of Ludington this morning. I'll ask the same question, Mitch, that I asked Mark just a moment ago. Mayor Barnette, is anything on the docket tonight that we haven't talked about that would be interesting to converse about now?
I don't think so. I think tonight's agenda is actually fairly short, which is good because the budget will take up the vast majority of it. We, just as a heads up to the public, you'll see a budget deficit that is presented tonight for all 3 years. It's a structural deficit that we're working with, and so council has been made aware, or at least the finance committee has been made aware of that. A lot of the staff have been made aware that we've got to make some changes here in the next couple of years to address that. We have the cash and the fund balance to deal with it, but we also have to recognize that there are things that we have to change internally to improve that budget situation. And so, if residents have more questions, they're happy to show up, or we're happy to have them show up tonight, but they can also contact their city council member or myself just to ask questions and to have the conversation about it too.
And with with going in at a deficit from a city standpoint, you have to have a balanced budget. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And so at the end of the year, we end up having a journal entry to transfer cash over from our fund balance or cash balance to make that even out. And so this year we're looking at about $175,000 of a deficit. But again, we have. The purpose and the goal of having a fund balance is for days like this, when we know we are going to have some issues. Let's deal with in the short run with using that cash, and then in the long run we can start making those changes.
Was there one or two things that have created that were out of the norm at all?
Not out of the norm. It's just the reality of where we're at. I think the problem that we are at in Mason County is that there are we don't have as many working people in this area as we used to have. And so trying to attract and retain employees is difficult. And so we, just like every other private and public business or public entity in Mason County, have to pay a wage that attracts and retains our employees. And so that is one of our biggest issues now, is that in order to do that, our budget is taking a little bit of a hit. And so we've got to make sure that we can deal with both the ramifications and the impact of that, but also work to keep our employees in their positions, because we've lost people in the past because we just don't pay as much as you can get in other locations, but the cost of living here is just as expensive as other places.
For sure. Mitch Foster, City Manager of Ludington, Mayor Mark Barnette, we appreciate you coming in as always, and we want to make sure that everybody is safe out there in the holiday season, and with snow on the ground. We want to make sure that, and sidewalks are cleared overnight by DPW and throughout the day. Roadways, we've got Department of Public Works. They're out there clearing things off as much as possible. We talked about the side streets, but anything else from your standpoint that we should address now that we're getting into the winter holiday season and winter as well? Mitch, anything that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I'm not a defensive driver by any stretch of the imagination, but when it comes to the first few snowfalls, I think we all have to be defensive. We all have to be aware of our surroundings, what the road conditions are, and what people are doing around us, because not everybody is a safe driver when it comes to those first few snowfalls, and there are more accidents in these ones than most other ones, and I think the mayor would probably agree with his background that it takes a little while for everybody to get used to it. And so you give yourself time, give yourself space. Don't be in a rush to go anywhere. Just be safe out there, please.
And Mayor, we'll leave the last word to you. Anything that you wanted to add today?
I just want to address the sidewalks. And so in the downtown area, major routes, walking routes to and from school, those are done by the city. Other sidewalks are really the property owner. Sidewalk in front of my house is my responsibility to make sure that we clear, and just it provides opportunities for people to walk up and down sidewalks without having to get out on the street. And that's an important thing to remember. Just encourage folks to keep their sidewalks clear.
Yep, for male people. And then another thing too is I noticed yesterday, not a lot of people had their headlights on.
Yep.
And like people are flashing their lights, but yes, it was hard to see white cars and it's snowing and people didn't have their lights on. So I think that was Yeah.
And the other thing that you brought up, Mayor Barnette, is that with people responsible for their sidewalks in front of their homes, that could be a violation as well, civil infraction, and they could get a ticket in regards to that too. Is that right?
Yeah, and that, I mean, there's always that's always got to be a remedy. But the reality of it is that with this community is just a giving, it's a generous community, and I know for a fact there are people out there that have an elderly neighbor or something like that. They'll go over and take care of it, and just encourage everyone to kind of don't just look at your own sidewalk, but look at your neighbors and say how can we together help this fix this problem. So yep, I think that'd be a good thing.
All right, good information there. We've reached the 9 o'clock time frame, so we're going to wrap things up this morning with these two individuals. We appreciate them coming in and chatting about it. If you have any comment or want to be a part of this conversation, you can take part in it by going to the City Council meeting tonight, 6 p.m. at Ludington City Hall. And we encourage you to do that as well. It's 102.7 WMOM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. Thanks to both of you for coming in today.
Thanks for the chance.